Hello and welcome to Deliberately Creative. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be using the DaVinci Eye AR app. And I want to do something that I haven't ever done before. I've got this picture right here that I took at the library not too long ago, and I'm going to bring it into the AR app, and I want to go directly to the canvas board with paint and not draw first. Let's get started on this and see what happens. I'm not sure. It's an experiment. I'm going to click on the plus draw right here at the top, and I'm going to go down to, I'm glad I don't have anything embarrassing on my photo lineup here. I'm going to go down to this flower right here. And the first thing it does is it asks you if you want to go in classic mode or AR mode. I like to use the AR mode, and that uses a little card that you set up beforehand. And I just have it taped to my board. So that way I can move this around if I need to, and it's going to stay locked to the picture. I'm going to put this into my little phone stand here. This is just one of those flexible phone stands that clamps onto, like the head of your bed or, whatever. So I'm just getting it sort of lined up here like this. And if you can see, that picture is trying to come up. I want to click on focus lock first. So that way when I'm moving my hand in and out, the camera isn't going to keep trying to refocus. Now, the hardest thing for me, and I don't know, there's probably a better way to figure this out, but when I move things around, so first, I'm going to tip it like this. First, you have to click on move down here at the bottom, and then make sure it's on picture. I've clicked on move, I've clicked on picture. Now, for me, and I don't know if this is just because I've got it turned sideways, I have to think kind of backwards and backwards. So up and down is actually left and right on my screen. So if I go up and down, you'll see that the picture is going left and right. And if I go left and right, the picture goes up and down. And my picture came in turned upside down. Now I could probably flip my camera or flip this all around, but then my camera would have to be on the other side and it would get in the way of my paints. So I think that's probably, it's all my issue, I think. But I'm going to rotate my picture, try not to lose it. Let's see here. Up and down is left and right. So I want to go that way, and right and left is up and down. Get that rotated. Almost. There we go. So now I've got it rotated pretty well. I can pinch and expand my fingers. I like to use my index finger and my middle finger. What I'm usually doing is moving my canvas, and so you can see how that's rotating right there. I'm on top of a piece of fabric so I can wipe my brush off. So up here, right up here, there's blue and white in the sky. I'm going to put some blue and white in the sky area, kind of doing like paint by number. But I am going to have to work right up to the edge of my little piece of paper here. And then I'm going to have to tip it just a little bit. Uh-oh, that's not going to work, is it? I love figuring out things like this. So now I know how I can work on things to the full size of my canvas and not have to wiggle the anchor. Because that's what this is called. This is an anchor. Needs fresh tape. I'm going to line it up right here like that. I can reduce that a little bit so I can see the whole thing. I can zoom in when I'm getting in there and working on blocking in. So I'm going to block in my colors using the DaVinci Eye. I'm using just a canvas panel to throw my paints onto. This is Turner acrylic gouache. This is sky blue. Yeah, you go through white the most in almost any kind of paint. You're not going to be able to see those very well, but some yellow. This is permanent yellow. And the acrylic wash is just acrylic paint that is very opaque and very matte. This is permanent green light. I have some Prussian blue, some burnt sienna. And I know a lot of you aren't here for the painting part of this, but a lot of you are. I'm going to start putting in some colors. This is a Creative Mark round mimic swirl brush. It's actually a watercolor brush, but it's what I had, and it's not a very expensive brush, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm taking some of the sky blue and some of the white, and I'm going to look at this. Sometimes you'll find you need to stand. I'm going to see how far I can go without getting my head in the way. Sometimes you need to stand. So I'm looking up here going, we're in the blue and white, and with blue and white on my brush, and I'm not mixing the color really deeply. There's some lighter blue and white. I'm sort of following the gaps, the open spaces. It's really interesting because I'm watching up here. I'm not watching what my hand is doing down. It's like magic. Wow. Okay, so that's that one. I need to take it all the way off the edge. A little bit darker blue. I'm going to take some of that up here. There's some blue over here. This is like light coming through trees. And I think there's a little bit of blue over here. Interesting. Now we've got some really dark green up here. I think I'm going to go for that next. So I'm going to take some Prussian blue, some of that mid-green light, and a touch of burnt sienna. Maybe I'll be mixing a lot more of that color. There we go. So I'm looking at this up here. I'm going to slide this down so I can really see where I am. See what I did though? I just put my finger on it. Once you take it off of move, you have to take it off of move to be able to do this. Take it off of move, then you can go in and trust your hand and eye to start working together. It's not always going to work out. See, and I'm looking at this going, ooh, there was more blue down there that I didn't get. Oh well, that's okay. I can always go back in and add more. There's a little bit of blue right there, or a little bit of green right there. Mush that color around. Just dancing it along. And this is just a trick. It's a skill, actually, to learn how to direct your eye and hand to work together. Look at that. I am just dancing this around. I'm leaving some gaps because those gaps are where there's light coming through. And I'm wandering around and going, okay, where is it really dark? I'm just looking for the really dark stuff right now. Remember, I said this is kind of like paint by number. Pick a color and start putting that color wherever it goes. So let's see here. We're going like this, like that, and there's a little bit like that, and there's some here. It's really dark around that flower. I'm going to zoom in so I can get a little bit of that detail around the flower. You know, my hand is doing the drawing. My eyes are looking at the reference. I'm not cheating. I have to do the work. And that's the thing. People need to understand that you're still doing the artwork. Just because you're using an app that helps project an image onto the paper in a magical digital kind of way. It's just like using the, what is it? The Lucy type device. This is just an electronic Lucy. Instead of using 2 pieces of glass to reflect, you're using a camera to project. I am really, really digging this. Oh my gosh. And it also allows you to keep things a little bit looser if you want. You don't have to be, so tight. Let's pull that up a little bit so I can see where I am. You don't have to be so tight about it. And if you, paint over a spot or something like that, don't worry. Don't worry. You can always go back in with other colors and fix things. We're blocking in right now. We are not at the finished painting at this point. This is kind of like sketching with the paint. So let me move this over so you can see. Right now it's looking actually kind of interesting, isn't it? Look at that. Okay. So now we're going to go back to this. And I am going to, let's see, I can get some more dark right there. And there's a little bit more dark right here. I'm just filling in the little dark spots. Just like paint by number, but it's not drawn on the page. I wonder if somebody will end up making something like that. Maybe I'll try and do that. Come up with an image that is set up as paint by number that you just project onto it using the DaVinci Eye. Let me know in the comments. Is that something you would like to try? Would you try it? Would you try a paint by number if it was all set out and it said, all right, this area, paint this color? What I like about this is that when I'm painting it and I'm getting the color in that area, it's almost like the painting is developing on the screen too. Oh, this is, yeah, I am having so much fun. A bit of green and yellow and come in here and maybe a touch of that darker green too. Ooh, there we go. Maybe start adding a little bit of some of those other green colors in now. Start lightening up some of it. My colors are going to mix on the canvas panel. This is just a canvas panel. You could do it on paper. You could do it on a stretch canvas. I've painted on wood using my DaVinci Eye. You can do this on anything. I've done a rock. It's here on my Deliberately Creative YouTube channel. And pretty much all my DaVinci Eye artwork videos are on or DaVinci Eye app also. I'm just going to go like that. Getting a little bit of that green smooshed in here. Remember, we're blocking in. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. Actually, it's never going to be perfect. I am going for kind of a loose and abstract type of painting here. So, loose and abstract is the way I'm going to roll on this. Okay, just because something shows a color, like right here on that, I'm pointing with the end of my brush, that little bit of blue that's in the bush right there, and I didn't paint it blue, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to just continue on and put whatever color really makes me happy. So I need just a touch of water. You notice I don't use a lot of water with this either. I'm actually really happy. I am going to work a little bit more in the blue and white. And I am going to come up here to the top. And I'm going to just dance in some little bits of white. So I'm just going to go like this and sort of dance this in. We've got blue, maybe even a little bit more blue. Since that white is wet right now, I can dance a bit of that blue in there. You've got those lovely little specks of light, specks of sky coming through. I like that. If it is too transparent because you put too much water in, just let it dry, add a little bit more paint. I mean, really, there's nothing that you can do to this that will ruin it forever. So this area right here, now that I'm looking at it, that really is just more of the sky, maybe a little bit more white, like there's a cloud coming up behind. So I'm going to just make that more white and blue. It's kind of a puffy cloud that's behind all those leaves. So I've put the blue in, and then I'm going to grab more white. I'm going to dance that in, only on the tops. So let's move that out of the way so that you can see that better. Just taking pure white and dancing it in just on the top edges. Just like that. Put a little bit more up here of just white and blue. And even though I moved it out of the way, moved the camera out of the way with my hand, as soon as I put this back, it's locked to the picture. So I can move this all around and it's not a big deal. It just has to be where you can see it. Put a little bit more up here. I see some canvas showing through where I was sort of dancing my brush around and not really worried about making sure that everything was covered properly. But I'm getting closer to wanting to be done with this part. So I'm just going to go in and start adding some color. I don't have to always look at... I think I'm going to clean my brush and clean my water because I want to do more with white and yellow. And when you're doing things with white and yellow, you need clean water. And this isn't. This looks like swamp water right now. I'm going to start putting some white onto the flowers. I will go back and deepen up some of the shadows around the sky, in those leaves and stuff that are in front of the sky. I want to get the flowers in now. I can see my camera completely right here. I wanted to unblock the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and take just the tiniest bit of that blue. I'm going to make a gray. And I know I said I needed clean water for my paint, but I need to make a gray, which is just taking this brown and blue, which if you have an orange or if all you have are red and yellow and blue, you can make the gray. So this is the sort of neutral base. It's not warm, it's not cold. But see, when I take my white into it, it's just a nice neutral, kind of dark gray. I don't want it to be quite so dark. So I'm just going to keep adding white to it to get it to about the tone I want, which is right about there. A little bit of water on it. And now I'm going to go in and put my base coat on the flowers. I'm not worried about the center right now. The yellow can go right over the top. I did bring my my color, my dark color in a little bit farther on the flowers. That just makes it so that the background is truly behind my picture, behind my flower. I am working my petals from the outside edge down towards the center, or from the center towards the outside edge. Kind of the way the petals grow. So starting here in the center and going out. By having this gray, it's giving me a nice base for these flowers that isn't bright white, because you want your brightest white for the highlights. See, and that one is brighter white. The bottom edge of it is darker. I love doing stuff like this. Oh my gosh. One thing that you want to make sure is that the outside line of your petal needs to be sharp. You don't have soft fuzzy edges on these petals. To make sure that you get it all nice and sharp. See? I'm not worried if I get a little extra dark in here. Actually, a little extra dark down in the inside isn't a bad thing. And remember, it's just paint. Let it dry, paint over it. I like that. I think I'm going to see if I can grab a little bit of that gray before it dries out. And put some stripes of gray into my petals. Kind of like that. Put a little bit of this gray down here, the bottom of those petals, and in the middle here. You'll get to learn as you paint the little things that you might not actually see, but that you want to include. Like, I know that this down here where the yellow is going to go, it needs to have a bit more, maybe even a little bit of this brown mixed in. Right down here where the yellow is going to go. I am going to have to make a really nice orange, so I will be moving to that in a minute, but first I just want to get my other flowers blocked in. And looking at this, I do want to take that down just a little bit. Take it down meaning knock it back, not have it be quite so bright. And I want to add a little bit more, kind of some little gray-white squiggly highlights, because these are kind of wrinkly flowers. Almost, I want to say they remind me of a cosmos, but it's a giant plant. I mean, giant plant. This was in the middle of a parking strip, and you could not see the cars on the other side. I'm going to take just a touch of that blue and a touch of that brown. A lot more white. Slightly different tone. Giving me a little bit more contrast in the flower. My brush. See, I am one of those fiddlers with my paintings. I fiddle. I move things. I adjust. A little bit of that bright white along this edge. Up there, bring a little bit down in here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am probably going to be softening up this background here a bit more. I want to get those yellow centers in. So I need a touch of cadmium red and the yellow to make a nice bright orange. We're going to touch in here, get that yellow in. Sunshine in the middle of these flowers. A little bit of that yellow down there. Touch, touch. I'm not making perfect circles. I'm putting blobs to get that basic undertone. Maybe even a little bit more yellow. A little more sunshine down in there. Pretty. I'm taking a really small, this is a number 2 round. Make sure you don't have any water drops on the brush. And now I'm going to just put little blobs. They just give you that tiny little bit of like realism in there, but not. I'm going to put some very lightly, put a few of the little stem bits. Very light, not many. Put a few more little blobs sort of blurred out that are coming closer to us. Oh, so pretty. Okay, now these ones down here are much more blurred out. They're more of a bigger, like less distinct individual blobs. They're more of a mixture of lots of blobs together. This one over here, it might have a few more that you can see. That one's going to be more just the color. I am going to go ahead and do some refining. Now there's some places here where I don't have my deep color. I might end up going over my flowers again a little bit on the edges, just because I'm going in and fixing. And when you fix things, sometimes you mess things up when you're fixing them. One of those, you just have to get over that and just say, oh well, and move on, even though you wrecked something that you were absolutely in love with. Right up here, it's much darker. I'm going to just let it. And then over the top of that, the darkness actually comes down a bit more. Comes down a bit more. See, I'm just not too worried about making things perfect. These are branches and leaves that are blocking the view. They don't have to be. They don't have to be perfect. Remember this stuff back here? This was all kind of like bokeh, like little lights sort of dancing through. So I probably don't want them to be quite so big. Want a bit more of the dark back up in there. My hand is going in front of the camera now from time to time. And I'm okay with that. Adding some more dark here and there where I think it goes. This one, I need to have my leaves and things coming up in front of the clouds. And I want to kind of get around that flower there. There we go. Now, you know, I don't really like that one white blob right there. Just because it's in the picture doesn't mean you have to leave it. You can adjust. That's the cool thing. You are still the artist. You are still making choices, even if you are using a reference that you are painting directly over the top of. This is one of those absolutely amazing art opportunities. See that right there? Doesn't need to be all light. It can get pushed to the back. And that's what dark does. It pushes things to the back. Light things come forward, dark things recede. I want to have a little bit more definition on that one, and maybe that. See? Change things up. If you don't like it, you know, I really don't like that little flower right there behind it. I think I want to give it more, to give more of that flower to this one here. See? Take out some of that extra bright, make it go dark. Totally up to you. This is where I love to get lost. I love to get lost in the playtime of this push and pull that you get. Because that's what it is. It's a push and pull. You push things back, you pull them forward. This is where the fun of being a painter is learning how to do that. I'm just going to darken that up there. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to take that all back. It's just too bright. Actually, I think even though I love that cloud, I think it's too bright. So I'm just going to take it back. I'm just going to boom, look at that. Take it back. I don't want it there. Taking back that canvas right there. And the green. See? You can do that. I really like super dark, rich backgrounds anyway. So, you know, this is my prerogative to take that all back. All of that. And I'm just glazing some of that color back in over that green that's too bright. You can make choices. You can change things. And maybe some of that yellow with the orange, because green with yellow and orange makes these amazing colors. And I'm going to take some of that down in here. And maybe some of that back up in here. Give me some variety. I don't want it to be totally black. I think I'm going to take the blue across the whole thing up there and send this into the dark. This much darker down here. Ooh, well, I guess maybe I'll put some of this orangey brown over here. That was not what I was intending. My brush picked up a color that I was not intending. And guess what? It's okay. Just make it work. I'm trying to make the area around my flowers a little more sharp. Not so blurred out. But other than that, kind of want a blurred out background. And I'm going to take that out. Take those blues out. I'll take it across the sky. I'm going to grab some of that burnt sienna brown, and I'm going to look at this and go, right here, there's a stem. And then there's kind of another stem that's coming across. And there's like a little stem there. And then there's sort of a branch like this. And I'll say there's a stem coming off of that one. I think I'm going to just sort of let that bleed out just a little. Kind of shadow it in just a little. Grab some white. Make that brighter on this edge just a little. It's a little bit darker going underneath of the flower. Yeah. These are going to be darker petal. There's a bit of that brown in there. A little bit of white, a little bit of white, a little bit of white. See? It just gets dropped into the background that way. A little bit of white there. I'm going to bring this flower forward, but not. It's going to have a bit of gray going on in there. And then I will dry it and add a little bit of white to it. I want some more of that blue sky back up in there. I don't want it to be all dark. So I'm going to go drama up here, and I'm just going to go boop, 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 boop. Look at that. Put the blue in. I'm going to take out that clump right there. I don't like it. Starts out one way, changes to something else. Once you've got your basic plan, you can do anything you want. I might put some trees and stuff back in here. Because I do have this blue and green showing up in my sky. Take more white. I'm going to shove some clouds in. I am not kind to my brushes. If you have super expensive brushes, do not paint the way I do. Don't push your brush towards the bristles unless you don't care or don't mind that you might be damaging your brush. People who are really super worried about their brushes, please be worried about your brushes. Take your time, gently dab. Do not use your high quality watercolor brushes on acrylic gouache. This is acrylic paint. I like this soft kind of blurry look that I can get with this. These Mimic brushes are actually pretty sturdy. For what they are. I mean, they are watercolor brushes, but these Mimic swirls, I love them. I love them. Okay, so now I'm going to put in some of that blue. And it's really funny. I am looking at my picture here, and I'm seeing some of the dark and the light. I'm just changing it to blue and white instead of the green and blue. So now you've seen it change. I'm going to dry and then put a little bit of some of the bushiness back in with lighter green. All right, now we're going to go in and put some of that green bushy stuff back in. Oh, that's sweet. I love how that's turning out up here. That high part. I don't want to mess with it too much. I want the leaves to be able to sort of stand on their own a little bit. Grab some of that yellow. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. If you appreciate me and what I've done with this video and using this app, sharing the DaVinci Eye AR, I would love to have you click that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends. And if you want to support my channel monetarily, I do have affiliate links in the description below. I do have a Patreon where I share some bonus materials, and I have super thanks available on here also if you want to just click that $ underneath of the video. I really appreciate your support of my channel. If you have any questions specifically about the app, I will put the link to the info for DaVinci Eye down below so that you can ask them directly. And I want to say, remember, go out and do something creative, take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. And I want to see you back here again really soon. Bye-bye.